Mythos Decoded. Hey, everybody. I'm Rex Bear. How the heck are you? Beautiful day today out here in Southern Colorado. The house didn't get burnt down. So amazing. Just across the street, there is a ton of those chemicals that they sprayed from the big tankers. So the ground looks orange. And luckily, they missed our house on there. So hopefully the well won't be contaminated. But they did what they had to do, and they did an amazing job. I just drove past the fire zone where everything got burnt and literally across the street. So thank you all for your prayers. Thank you, first responders. And obviously, thank you, Divine Creator, for, keeping our house up here. But we've got a lot to talk about today, folks. And my favorite, Tess Clark from Mythos Decoded. We're going to get into 3i Atlas. Is this thing an interstellar visitor from another planet? Is it a spaceship? Is it just a comet that's very bizarre? It's traveling about 130,000 miles an hour right now, so it's smoking fast. The typical tell that you see with comets, this is different. So it has a lot of very bizarre anomalies. You've probably heard of Avi Loeb, the Harvard professor that has written many papers on the hypothesis that it could be extraterrestrial in origin, like a spacecraft, as well as Oumuamua several years ago. Oumuamua, most likely, or could have been a interstellar visitor, some type of scout ship. So we're going to get into 3i Atlas today, and Tess is also going to decode certain biblical events. And what does that mean for now? Does that mean that we are getting closer to the apocalypse, or what is referred to as Armageddon? Well, if you look up apocalypse, the definition, that just means revealing, unveiling. So we could see some pretty incredible anomalies here after Project Atlas. We'll call it Project Atlas 3i. But also, real quick, folks, I did want to say thank you for being a supporter of Leak Project. Thank you for all your thumbs up, all your comments, sharing the videos. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. And I wanted to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Noble Gold, noblegoldinvestments.com. I've been with Noble Gold now for about 8 years. I've purchased gold, silver, platinum from Noble Gold Investments. I have helped friends and family convert their 401s and IRAs through Noble Gold Investments. They're very happy. I actually just got an email the other day from somebody that made a large purchase through Noble Gold Investments, and they had their order shipped to their house in the middle of nowhere. They were a bit concerned as they waited in the mail, even though they got tracking right away. They got their package, super happy, very thankful. And I know a lot of people that jumped back into gold and silver several years ago are extremely happy right now. Now, there's obviously never any guarantees. So you look at what the big banks and the money funders are doing. But if you're getting close to retirement or just thinking ahead, you've probably done a pretty solid job of saving. But there's something most people don't consider. How much of that money is just sitting in cash? It might feel safe, but holding too much cash guarantees one thing, that you're losing purchasing power. So inflation eats away at it, and the dollar's value keeps slipping. Actually, I saw an interview that Trump gave the other day speaking to somebody about the falling dollar, and that's why more people are looking at real assets like physical gold and silver to protect their savings. There's one company that makes it very easy, Noble Gold Investments. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, tons of 5-star reviews. And you can buy gold, silver, platinum, coins, and bars. They ship them directly to your house, or you can have them store them securely. It's a smart way to convert cash into something that actually holds value. Noble Gold is fair, transparent, and they do not pressure you. Just solid information and real options. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com today. That's noblegoldinvestments.com, or you can give them a call, 1-877-646-5347. And if you let them know Rex from Leak Project sent you, they're offering a very special gift for Leak Project listeners. Find out about the free coin. Just let them know Rex from Leak Project sent you. Once again, noblegoldinvestments.com. Okay, Tess, what's going on? Great to see you. Thank you. Yeah, hi. Thank you for the opportunity. It's always nice to speak with you.
Yes, likewise. I was just looking for those links, but it's going to take me a little while. So maybe we can
Sure.
do something else, and then we'll talk about the link. I'll give you the links. Anyways.
Okay.
When you're
totally cool.
Can I share them? Can I share them on this chat?
Sure, 100%. Yeah, please. I'm sure the people in the chat would love to click the comments. So folks, we're going to put links in the chat also. for you to read along with us and look at these interesting images and papers. I wanted to show, while you're sending that in the chat, I actually wanted to pull something up real quick for the audience in reference to a paper that Avi Loeb had written. Where did that go, actually? Just had that. It was very interesting. Very, very interesting. Let me pull this up one more time real quick. Folks, what are you up to today? Alien Technology, Avi Loeb. Here's the paper. I was actually one of the first people to report on this, besides Avi, of course. The day that I reported on it, several hours later, a multitude of mainstream news articles picked up on it. Here is the image or the paper that I wanted to share with y'all, folks, from Avi right here. And this is titled, "Is the Interstellar Object 3I Atlas Alien Technology?" Avi goes through the math and the orbit, the trajectory, the speed, the size of the object, as well as the fingerprints that it is leaving behind. And he predicts that there's approximately a 0.005% chance that this is natural. Think about that for a minute. 0.005%. He also hypothesizes that based on the location where it came from, referred to as the dark forest, that this object could actually be hostile, either hostile or here to help. I don't know how he got those two quite conflicting reports, but very, very interesting. So this is the paper, if you get a chance to read it. Now, Avi is also on Medium, so just go to Avi-Loeb, medium.com. So on the uncertain nature of 3I Atlas. What are your thoughts on this, Tess?
I have a lot of thoughts. Okay, so I shared a few links. I don't know if you can see them. Everyone can see them for now, and then I can share some more. Yes, of course, I've been following what's going on with this object, that it's moving. Yes, you already described basically its trajectory, the angle compared to the ecliptic, which I don't know if people know what an ecliptic means, but it means the imaginary orbit of Earth behind the sun. I don't know if people knew what that meant. And the problem with that is that if you know the helical universe, then the universe, or sorry, the solar systems and galaxies are not flat pancakes. So they are a vortex. The sun and the stars and the cores of the galaxies are always at the front. And then as it goes back, there's spiraling counter-rotating currents where each planet or star is following. And that's the, you see the tail. It's like a comet tail, you could say. Everything has the same discharge. All energy spirals and discharges the same way. So I just wanted to mention that. So what is going on with this object is, yes, people are saying all kinds of things, of course, that it could be a spaceship. And it is coming very fast. Yes, that's because it's probably in one of the of these spiraling currents that has a faster kind of electric field, because as you go close to the center of the sun, of these concentric currents, the currents are higher or stronger, and as you go out, they are more weaker, or they become weaker, and they have less electricity. And what I have to say about the way that it's displaying, it doesn't have a comet tail. So let's say this is the object. And right now it has what they call a coma, which is an atmosphere. It has an atmosphere. Yes. And this atmosphere will be just like the atmosphere of any planet. It has an electrical discharge or electrical capacitor. It has plus and minus. It's a dipole. All planets and comets and asteroids are dipoles, like the sun. And that means that energy comes in a, let's say, plus, positive, and then energy comes out as negative. That means dipole. And when there's stability around, or what it looks like is that it has, so far, it's traveling on a stable orbit. So it's not encountering other currents that will make this kind of change, like get too much electricity. I'm just trying to dumb it down and make it very simple for everyone to understand. It's not, I'm not an astrophysicist, but I've been listening to scientists, and the way they try to explain to everyone, it's what I'm trying to do. So excuse my lack of professional, terms. But basically, right now, this object is in a stable, that's a good one. And you see the colors, you see green and orange, because again, that depends on the frequency or the intensity. Yes, it's almost like a rainbow right there. I see orange on the right, green in the bottom, and blue towards the front, and then maybe some more orange in the top. I don't know, and then yellowish. And but yes, just like the auroras and the plasma phenomena. And there's a spiral. I sent a really cool photo of a spiral that coincided with Comet Tuttle, Swift-Tuttle's meteor showers. It could be the comet, I don't know, but there's all this really cool phenomena that it can be caused by all this electrical activity that is displayed by these objects coming in through the atmosphere or in the atmosphere or interacting with each other. So also what I wanted to say is that if this object crosses and it could be any object, so it could be from a spaceship to a planet, an asteroid, wherever, it can change its color and it can actually get a comet tail because it's discharging a higher intensity, or it encounters in its trajectory or orbit, there is a higher current. So then it just will lights up and gets all these different colors depending on the intensity, and it can change. And the tails also, just like we saw with Mercury, it can not have a tail and be more stable, or if it gets too close to the sun or interacts with a comet, it displays the tail. It's just what happens. Like I said, the energy coming in and out. And so what I really think this is, I think it's a planet, and yes, what could be called as comet, and it might display the tail of a comet depending on the currents. And if it's going to come close to Mercury, Mars, and Jupiter, I think by sometime in October, it should be getting closest to Mars. That's when we should see some interaction between Mars and the object and this planet, comet. We'll see how it interacts. So it might look like a comet. Mars might look like a comet. Mars might get a lot of auroras, and this comet as well. There might be arcs, of light or flashes people might photograph flashes of light, and that means there is a discharge. We just see like flat, we're just seeing it from one side, so we don't see the whole thing. We just see it from the front. And so it looks like a flash. So it could be interacting with Jupiter by March, according to James McKenney, who I just listened to his latest show, and he follows all comets. And, he came up with a comet plasma electric comet theory long time ago. And so I can trust him when it comes to that. He's an astrophysicist, plasma. What is it? He deals with atomic energy, and so he knows how stars function and electric universe, basically. And he's a mathematician and an inventor as well. But what I was going to say is that even if this is not a spaceship, because I think it'll be so big, it's like just way too big to be practical, for a spaceship. Like, think about it, all the parts that you would have to have working and functioning for such a large thing. I think that if there is any alien spaceships, they actually would travel behind the comet in those currents, like the tails. And sometimes we see them, sometimes we don't see them. So it doesn't mean that something else could be traveling there or not. It's totally possible, because that's another thing that James McKenney has proposed, that they could be like interstellar highways, the comets, using the tails of the comet or the orbit of comets. And that'll be a great way for ancient or aliens now to have travel and to continue traveling. And that is the concept of a wormhole that we've heard about. wormhole. When you hear wormhole, what is it? It's like a spiral, right? It's like a spiral or like a tunnel. And I think that has been distorted from these currents, electric currents, but they would act just like the highways of traveling between star systems. That'll be like the fastest way, instead of having to go slowly through however you're trying to travel right there out there in the cosmos. And then you could get captured and by a planet or interact with something else, and then they could be dangerous also. Think about it, because they're electrically charged, so they would have to have a really good shielding, protective way of dealing with this when they're traveling behind a comet, or to kind of like piggybacking on the comet. Because comets also, in this theory of the electric universe, the tails are actually like a vacuum. They're actually pulling things with the comet. They have a charge, so they're pulling. I think if it's a positive charge, they're pulling in negatively charged objects, and usually the planets and spaceships will have a charge. So that's why they would get captured or interact with this whatever other object that they're coming across. So that's my 2 cents on that. And you have any questions or?
Yeah. What I noticed is watching this orbit, look at how close it gets to Mars.
Yes. It might be something big with Mars.
There might be something big. If it is an interstellar craft, or if there's craft behind it, let's say that there's craft behind it, potentially. With as close as getting to Mars, and look, I don't know. I'll say 10% it's an alien craft, even though Avi Loeb is saying it's a 0.005% chance it's natural. He's obviously a lot smarter than me and a lot better with math. But if I say, okay, 10% it's alien, like if there's something behind it, look at how close it gets to Mars. Are they picking something up on Mars? Are they checking something out? Is it from Mars? What if they're Martians? This is the craft that they had to leave Mars before it got blown up, and now they're coming back. They're doing another flyby after thousands of years in some type of cryogenic chamber. If anything, it makes a cool movie. I'm just saying.
Yes. No, that's we'll see what happens. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that they might pull the fake alien invasion card
to
bring about a type of world control and disarmament.
They love you so much. The one world government control.
Yes, of course. It's always for your highest good and for the highest good of everyone. But that could be, I was listening to other people talk, not just him and you, but other people talk about how the interdimensional aliens could be arriving. Now that is a hard one to deal with, because it's like, oh, now they're here. Now you can't see them. Now you see them. Now you can't. That's just like really, really confusing. It can get really murky. But kind of like questioning, like questionable, like, oh, how convenient. But it's just interesting to hear the narrative. I'm looking at a lot of people pointing to this alien thing, and some people would say it's they come here to save you, so just listen to them and do whatever they say, and it could be real or not. And I think that we just have to be careful to accept anything too quickly. Like, we just have to think, be critical, and just use our brains and see how things work and history, and then go from there. But yeah, just be very observant of what is going on, and I think that each country will see, and they will be told that certain things are happening, even with natural phenomena that this celestial object plus spaceships, I don't know, possibly might be causing. So if there's anything really weird going on, I'm sorry, there's some noise. I don't know if you can hear it in the background.
No, it's good.
Perfect. If there's any, like, let's say, catastrophes, any crazy phenomena, like red skies everywhere, and just like these spirals and ghosts and gnomes and dwarves, that's what they call all this transient plasma phenomena. and just very weird things that you have never seen before, pillars of light. They might just say, oh, it's all the military, or it's the aliens, it's the spaceship, it's beaming, it's killer ray, whatever. And then what is what? Just like I was saying before, when you were saying, is it natural or is it man-made? We just will never know how much is natural and how much is man-made. But never forget, there's a lot of natural phenomena that has been used throughout history to promote and push an agenda by the different rulers that were ruling at the time. So never forget that. And things keep repeating. So yes, it's going to be fascinating. I hope something happens interesting, just because, I'm kind of tired of the same boring stories that we hear ongoing, like slow-mo torture.
Right.
We're going to do the, but anyways, I think that, things could get very interesting. And
Dude, real quick, I just wanted to make a comment. It seems to me like the timing of this, not necessarily. So a lot of people, when news comes out, will speculate, oh, this article came out because they don't want to talk about that other news. So they're going to bring this new news out to sway the attention. Look over here, not over there. And yeah, that absolutely makes sense. However, this anomaly was already there. So there, it might be a perfect time to pick up on the anomaly and put it in the news if they didn't want to talk about something else. But at the same time, it was there. It's there. And it seems to correlate with some very interesting dates. David Sarita did a really cool presentation on that. And it's fascinating regardless. Like I said, 10%, maybe it's an alien spacecraft. I really think that by the time it gets to Earth, that they're projecting it could invade Earth. It's going to be a big nothing burger as far as like aliens dropping from the sky and Independence Day 4. There could be some serious magnetic stuff going on, or maybe some natural disasters associated with it potentially. But I think it's going to be a nothing burger as far as aliens falling out of the sky. I don't see Martians dropping out being like, "We come in peace." It would be cool though. I'm for it. Let's bring it on.
Exactly. A lot of talk and nothing to show for, right? Yes.
Right.
Yes. And yes, if the aliens are here, just show yourselves and talk to everyone. No, just make yourselves seen and be nice. Be nice. If you're not nice, you're not welcome. Go somewhere else.
Overlords.
Only nice ones are welcome, but and kind ones. But what I was going to say also, when you were mentioning that, yes, well, the thing with comets, well, okay, so the only thing the reason what I don't think this is by itself the spaceship, it's because of the size. It's just way too big. It just doesn't make, like, if you're someone, I mean, look at drones, all the technology is getting smaller. You would want it to do smaller and easier things and large and huge things. And if everyone dies in one, it doesn't really make sense. But however, there could be something in behind the planet or comet or whatever it is. Yes. And the other thing I was going to mention, as you were talking about Mars, is that it might not interact with Earth directly, but it might actually move one of the moons of Mars. It might interact also with, remember, Mars has moons, just like most of the other planets have little moons or asteroids or biggish moons or asteroids, and those could be moved out of its orbit, and then those could cause problems with electrical interactions with Earth indirectly. So I'm not saying that anything is going to be flung to Earth. No. But you don't need to be too close to a celestial body to have effects on the Earth. Big effects. You don't need to. You can. Yes, it has happened many times in the past, for sure. But you can also have interactions at a distance, just like Andrew Hall has pointed out, and the ancients also. So yes, the closer they are, the worse it is. And it could be little moons, asteroids. They could be hitting the moon. If they hit, well, not hit, sorry, I shouldn't say hit. If they are interacting with the moon, well, I was thinking about meteor showers, but if they are interacting with the moon, that would also cause an interaction with Earth because everything is electrically connected. So remember that. It doesn't have to hit. It doesn't have to go blank, boom, poof. No, it could be just close by, and that could be a problem. It doesn't. And usually close by, big objects repel. That is what happens. So they attract at a distance, but then when they get closer, you got these electrical discharges, the thunderbolts of the gods and other crazy stuff, and the serpents being seen by the people, and like the Medusa and the Gorgons, but they don't crash because they have this sheath that is actually has the same charge, and then they will repel. So that's what I just wanted people to know. But yes, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens with Mars and Jupiter. Remember, we're getting closer to the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. In 120 years, I think we're going to be the closest in that 575-year cycle. So we are definitely closer to Mars and Jupiter than the Sun. And Venus also comes together with us. But we'll see what happens with Mercury. And
you had mentioned something about Mercury, I think a year ago, didn't you? Where Mercury was showing signs of a comet tail.
Yes, and it does it every year, actually. So that shows you how. So what I'm thinking about this object is that people are saying it doesn't have a comet tail, but maybe it doesn't have to have a comet tail. How about if this object actually comes back and forth, has come back and forth, and it has a stable orbit, just like you said? Maybe they have used that planet to come back and forth from other star systems because it travels outside of the stars system of the sun, and that's why it's called interstellar. So if it was just an asteroid or a comet coming between Jupiter and Earth or the sun, which I think are called Trojan comets or asteroids, and they also change between a not having a tail than displaying a tail. So what I was going to say is that I was thinking, well, it's not showing any comet-like tail yet because it might have a stable orbit going between the sun and another star, which we don't know because they don't tell us, and we don't know I wish we have the Webb telescope, all the data coming to us. And anyways, that would be awesome. And but yeah, so we could be doing this for a while. So as long as it doesn't encounter anything that has moved or it's in a new position, because everything moves, that's the other thing. Everything moves because of these currents and other objects that they encounter. Comets, planets, even a spaceship would be affected. Anything would be affected by these currents. And I also wanted to show you, just before I forget, I think I put it here, but they came out finally, the scientists, finally, they have come out and said, acknowledge, and there's a link, that geomagnetic storms, that means anything that you can see on Earth, anything affecting the electrical balance of Earth, can be caused by, they call it hurricane, cosmic hurricanes. And what does that mean? It's when you read the paper, they're explaining to you that it is highly electrified currents or charged currents that are incoming from other places besides the sun. And they hadn't told us about this because they were just ignoring the data. That's what they said in the paper. They were just ignoring it because it didn't fit, with the sun. So we're just going to ignore it. So finally, now they have a paper saying what me and all the people that talk about the electric universe have been saying, all the ancients, Noah Webster, everyone, new scientists. Yes, we get affected by other sources from the cosmos. It could be a nova, it could be a planet, a comet, and that can cause all the phenomena that you see on the planet, auroras, plasma phenomena, catastrophes, change of orbit, orbital changes. All this stuff can happen because of electric currents and interactions with other celestial objects.
So how do you feel about this comment right here? So this is from Anita. She says the invasion was planned for the 2030s, but they are getting itchy. It may move sooner. Not done with self-replicating AI tech. Take that,
that thing
off there. But so silly, they would never do that. That's a conspiracy.
No, that's silly.
But I have heard for years that there's going to be this fake alien invasion. But my theory is they've always been here. Like, I think that we were made by extraterrestrials potentially, or lizard people, but that's just a theory. Like, what if lizard people were here before us and they were actually hanging out with the dinosaurs and they were smart, and then they made people and then they got in a fight over it, and then they were like they were the vegan reptile overlords, and then the bloodthirsty reptile overlords, and the bloodthirsty reptile overlords won the battle. And anyway, just a theory, folks. Like, there's a 1% chance, right? It's a theory. It's a work in progress. But I wouldn't be surprised. But I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't that way either. But the only reason I bring that up is, like, it's always aliens. Aliens are going to come. It's always the aliens. You see something crazy in the sky, it's an alien. Like, it's not necessarily aliens. Blame everything on aliens and reptiles. I think it's kind of silly, personally.
Well, yes, that's a good point. It's a good cop-out, right? Blame them. It's not us. Right. I mean, it's them. Be mad at them. We didn't do anything. No, we're innocent little angels. We would never hurt you. So
we're here for your help.
We're
here to save the world.
It's a very good cop-out. Exactly. Oh, I already shared that. No. Oops.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as like the aliens are coming, they're probably already here. And I don't think that the government is ever going to fully disclose ETs unless there's a reset on the near horizon. Like, literally, like a full-on civilization reset. Power's gone. Computers are fried. People are hiding out in caves because the radiation's so bad that civilization has to start over. And I wonder, has this been done before? Like, do the aliens always show up before civilization collapses and say, "Oh, we just showed up," but yet they've always been here? That's my new working current theory. 5% chance. Your thoughts?
Oh, totally. Well, when you look at history, just around the world, they would tell people that they would come back if there was a catastrophe. They would, like Quetzalcoatl told the person known as Quetzalcoatl, the ruler that was represented by Venus, was telling the Mayan people that by the next time that he was going to leave, that he had to leave, but he was going to come back and help people, like, restart civilization. And of course, it's there. They want to always have the say on control, because they think they own everything on the planet and probably other planets. They just consider themselves the owners, so they have to come and fix things. So yeah, that would make sense, and make sure that everything's working properly, that people are doing the right thing, and just everything is done according to their plans and their agenda. And I also shared an interesting article here about the 2032, that an asteroid might hit the moon. Again, it doesn't really hit the moon, but I just wanted to share. And I think the timeline of the 2030s, 2031, Bernard Nelly Bernstein, all this stuff, because we're getting closer to, I think it has to do that we are getting closer to the asteroids that are, and planets and moons between Jupiter and the sun. So we are coming into this very crowded area, more crowded, not very crowded, but it's much more crowded than where we have been before. And in the past 200 years, at least, or 300 years. And then, so we're getting closer, and then we're starting to see all these different things coming and happening. We are getting closer to them. And they are kind of like, oh, now we see all this stuff going on. What's happening? But yes, of course, I always say that, going back to the aliens, that yes, well, all the ancient text, from religious to the ancient philosophers to the Greek, the Roman, everything, like in the mythologies, they always tell you that the gods or the lords came down from heaven. That's what they say. Down. They don't say they came across the ocean, or they don't say they came down from the mountain. They say, which that's where they also inhabited, because they were smart and they knew they wanted to be far away as possible from tsunami prone areas. And they just like the mountains, that's what their bodies were actually the best adapted to, and the least dangerous, unless you were like below a dam or like next to a river in in the mountains where there's flash flooding, just like what happened in Tibet. There was a microburst, which they call a microburst when there's just a lot of water, and it could be coming from the cosmic origins. It could be also caused by volcanic eruptions in the water, in the ocean, and then all this water gets evaporated, and there's just a lot of water there, and then suddenly it just comes in extreme force in one place, and it could be anywhere in the world, and that can cause terrible destruction because water with like lahars, they just carry the mud down and just destroy. So yes, so that could happen anywhere, just like in Asheville in Tennessee, same thing. But yes, it could be also man-made. Don't freak out, people, and don't say, oh no. But yes, there's some technologies that can help that, but also nature. Nature, it's very violent, and that's what I've learned from history. And it's just one of the things that I ponder every day. Why do we live in this type of cosmos or environment that it's very, very violent? That means things change fast. Violent means a fast change. I don't know if people knew that. That's what violent means. A very, very abrupt change. And that's what it looks like. And again, we just have to... Yes, we'll just have to, I don't know, I guess everyone will do what they think it's their mission or the reason for why they're here on the planet. And it's always good to just contemplate and see, observe and try to understand what's going on, and just always question everything, always question, and never, I don't think we should ever say, oh, I know the answer 100%. This is it. No, we should always say, okay, I think this is what's going on, but there's things that I don't know that might change my mind if I come across the information or the proof. If there's an alien, that whatever, someone, but not not mind control, like I don't know, like blue beam or high tech. I'm not talking about that. But if something real that I can prove as real comes in front of me and talks to me and says, hey, this is what's going on, then maybe I'll say, oh, okay, maybe there's more than I didn't know that I should think about.
Right. It's really interesting. And somebody also brought up the point that if you remember during the eclipse that we had last year, that seemed to have all sorts of biblical underpinnings. If you looked at certain towns and townships that were close to the totality of the eclipse, and the scriptures in the Old Testament and some of them even in the New Testament, it seemed like whoever wrote those texts knew about these eclipses and these cycles because of the location. If you know about the stars and the planets and the alignments, and if other people don't, then you could basically create prophecy in a sense, because it's already there. It's already going to happen, but you're writing about it like you don't know, but it's prophecy, but kind of thing. It's fascinating. So the deeper I dive into these scriptures and these texts and these tablets, I've gone way back to the ancient Sumerian stuff, and it seems to all correlate with the stars. Now, one thing I did want to mention, though, is in the Greek scriptures, and they talk about these people that came from the water, that actually came out of the water and taught mankind or civilization laws and order and different ideas and thoughts and mindsets and technologies. It talks about the fish people, which is very interesting. So some people speculate that it was, a highly advanced civilization that came out of the water, whether or not they're from there. But that's quite interesting as well, don't you think?
Oh, yes. The Dogon. You're talking about Dogon.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And this guy that looks, well, the funny thing with him, when you look at his pictograms or the way he looked, the iconography, he looks like he has the face of a human, and then with the hat of a fish, and it's like a hat. It's not like he has two heads. It's like a hat that looks like a fish, and then this kind of like a suit or something on his body that is covering his body, which is also with scales, if I remember correctly. And so again, remember Dogon, god of water, Enki, it could be like related to him. I think it's also related to him. But yes, that's what it says. Who was that guy that talked? I was talking about this in one of my
Oranos,
videos. Not Manetho.
Belsaros or Belsaurus.
Berosus. Yes, Berosus. Exactly. So Berosus, keep in mind, he was in Babylon, right? I'm pretty sure that he was in Babylon. And so that means Enki and his territory. So Assyria was Enlil and Hadad or Adad. That was his area. But Babylon has always been Marduk, and before him, Enki, and that's kind of like the territory. So Berosus, I'm pretty sure he was a high priest of Marduk. Is that right? And if he was, then that should tell you Marduk, Enki. So they're talking about themselves. But yes, maybe they came, in that case, maybe they came from another place, from another part of the planet that had been destroyed by catastrophes. Maybe they just could arrive while they were already on the planet. They came on submarines or ships or whatever technology they had, and maybe they were wearing something too that looked like scales. I mean, think of the armors of the medieval kings. They look like fish scales, and you wouldn't say, oh, they were fish, they were part fish, but they were wearing this beautiful golden armor that had these plates that looked like fish. They were fish and they were glowing and it was beautiful. So it's hard to tell when you're looking back at history and reading, and then it's been distorted or mistranslated, and then we're just trying to piece together everything. But then if you go back, and like I said, and then you're thinking, okay, who's writing this? Okay, it's a high priest of who? Of Marduk. Okay, who's Marduk? Look at his bloodline. Oh, okay, so maybe he's talking about these people. So that's how I always do it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And another thing to keep in mind is how many Viking warriors look like shapeshifters or werewolves or some type of monster. If, let's say that the Europeans show up 500 years ago, approximately, to these native cultures, and they've got this weird white skin makeup that makes them look even more white and pasty, and these weird wigs and weird clothes. And, and then they tell the locals what's going to happen with the stars or something like that. They could look like aliens. And then you hear about all the giants, like, oh, the giants. And well, folks, they're still here. They're in the NBA. They're in the NFL. I don't think, there could have been maybe 9 foot tall giants, a few of them or something like that, maybe a little bit bigger. But, then it's like the fish story. The fish goes from being a foot to 3 feet to 5. Oh, man, that was a freaking shark that I caught. It was I don't know how I caught it, man. It was like a marlin, when in reality it's the size of a trout. Just a lot of speculation, a lot of disinformation and such. So what we need to do is find all the data points and question everything. And then we can check off the list. Okay. It makes more sense that when they were talking about giants, it was because they were 5.5 feet tall, and these 7 foot tall Vikings show up with long hair and clothes they've never seen before. But then we go back to the really old stuff in India and Iran and Persia and ancient Babylon, Iraq, etc. And some of this stuff looks like it was carved with laser beams into the rocks. So was that us or was that alien? I don't know. But there's people that have worked for defense contractors and ran defense programs that allegedly said, basically on their deathbed, that we're not alone and ETs exist, and they're all over the world right now, in places that we can't really get to. We know less about the oceans than we do about our own solar system sometimes. At least, some people say that. So it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. I don't think it's either or. I think there's a much better chance it's almost all of the above.
I agree. I definitely agree. which makes things very complicated.
Yeah. It's like the more you think you got things figured out, the more you realize you don't. And there could be something else out there, actually, whether it's alien or not, I don't know, that adapts and evolves as we do.
What do you mean? Like a consciousness? Like a
and consciousness. I mean, it's interesting because in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, it was all about flying saucers, aliens, flying saucers. Now it's all about spheres, metallic spheres and rods and tic tacs. And then we find out that these tic tacs could be defense contractor technology, testing the military to see what the military does. So, I mean,
spot on.
And then you look at the real quick. Sorry, Tess. You look at the UFOs from 50, 60 years ago, and it looks obsolete to the technology we have now. It's weird.
Well, isn't that interesting? I think you just pointed to you just answer yourself. So what was the technology that they had in the 40s and the 50s? It was the saucers. And Victor Schauberger from Germany actually was an inventor of what they call anti-gravitic or electromagnetic propulsion systems that look just like a saucer. And he was an incredible inventor. And he also talked about the solar system being a vortex, just like the Hindu, this, I can't remember his astrophysicist's name, who also pointed to. So he was incredible. And so he was inventing that. But now that's all technology. And I don't know if you ever read, but I think it was on NASA. My gosh, it was somewhere that it was very very mainstream media, where they were saying people, the US, I don't know, someone in the US government, or I don't know, people were saying, oh yes, all that technology from the UFOs, the 50s, it was the military. And I'm like, what? You just acknowledge that? Yes, they were saying it was the military. It was secret operations, secret ops. Whoops. So now they have way better technology, and they have also technology that we don't even have any idea how it operates, that we can just imagine. That maybe one day we'll understand, but right now we're seeing spheres, and all these different things, and that's why they changed probably the name of the UFOs to the UAPs.
Right.
Right? Did I say it right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Thank God. Excellent. So yes, and then changing the terms is like, why are they changing the terms suddenly? Interesting. But yes, it could be that. And I can just imagine how much fun they have thinking about, okay, now we're going to pull out this on the masses. We're going to pull this trick and we're going to say it's this or that. And they just might be having a really good time, behind the scenes. And we're just here, just looking up and trying to figure out what is going on, what is happening. Now,
if they ever do full disclosure, they won't have that card anymore. So that's why I don't think they're ever going to do full disclosure, because they're going to continue to throw the possibility card out every time they want to control the narrative, or push that subject, or get people's attention away from something. I think it's a perfect card to play. But once you say, oh yeah, aliens exist, like, and you tell the world that, full disclosure as an official source, you've completely lost that card. And people are just going to be like, oh, I knew it. And then it won't be as interesting anymore. Kind of like Area 51. Area 51 used to be so amazing. People were so fascinated by it. Oh, it's aliens. It's incredible. And then back in 2019, they had alien stock. And, where everybody's going down to like the gates of Area 51, partying, vendors out there selling Area 51 t-shirts. And now it's like, it's cool. It's amazing. Yeah, they do top secret stuff there, but it doesn't have the persona that it used to.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's why the secret societies have always existed, to keep secret a lot of scientific information and a lot of the origins of our species, from us knowing that someone knows, someone has all the information, because they have made sure to keep it safe somewhere here and in other planets and other places, I would imagine. So as a record, and we're not supposed to know. So we get, I guess, when a little bit of truth comes out, there is a lot of disinformation as well. So people get confused. So you just very, very much confuse the environment, the waters, you muddle the waters. So people are like, oh, okay, it's this. No, it's that. We live in a flat plane. Oh, no, we live in a simulation. Oh, and I wanted to say something about the simulation too. The word simulation, because I think that where we're living in and the universe, it's not a simulation as people make it believe, as a computer game. Because why does it have to be a computer game? Why couldn't creator or God create all this? Why not? Why couldn't he just create all this and have it be like a game where we play, role play, and a lot of things happened? So I see it more as that. And simulate means to copy something else. So there must be, if this is not real, that means that this would be a real place where this is a copy of. And that's something that people, when they talk about the simulation, they really kind of like get, I don't know, I kind of lose what they're trying to say because it doesn't make sense in my head what they're trying to say. But I don't know if that makes sense to you. It's like, why not? I mean, again, this is something we all have the brain and the heart and the intelligence to be able to think about things. Hopefully we think for ourselves and we say, okay, this is what people are saying, but what does it really mean to me? What does it really mean? And I think that's really important to know, to understand where are we and what are we doing here, I guess. So we're not so easy to be manipulated into doing this or that. That's just my 2 cents. But that's what I wanted to say about the reality of Earth or the real, or what, or the I guess, yes, the reality of what we call the world or the universe, or where we are now, you and me talking and communicating with everyone that listens to us. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Is it a simulation or something far more interesting, as you say, and just some of the observable data points that we see? We can link it to a simulation in a sense, because that's how our mind understands things, like like being in a video game almost, or some type of program. The way that matter isn't really solid. We see such a small percent of the light spectrum, and at the subatomic level, it seems like everything is made of the same stuff. But that doesn't take away from our reality. It's just those are observable points of nature that we perceive, and it's such a small part. And I think it's far more interesting and complicated than just a divine creator's video game. But it's really interesting to kind of look at the parallels and say, oh, okay, well, our DNA breaks down to dual binary code. Matter is not solid. Everything is an electrical or some type of frequency. So there are those characteristics. I think it's fascinating either way. And the more, like we talked about earlier, the closer we get to figuring it out, something changes to where we're not even close.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think that's another point where you're talking about the power. Well, what we have been taught since we are little children is that our imagination, it's silly. It doesn't do anything. All that matters is what we can touch and see. And that is kind of a trick to disempower us from being able to create, or not create totally where we live, but they are kind of controlling the matrix that you could talk about, maybe by what we see on the TV, the propaganda, the news, the reality of things, how things work. So we are all putting this energy out and these thoughts out there and saying, yes, this is how things are because that's what they told me, and this is how things work. But what about if we had been kind of like dumbed down in a way, like taken our ability to I wouldn't say maybe change the whole of the universe and the planets that we see in the world, but change a lot of our maybe our near sphere of existence with the way we think and about ourselves as well. We have all this guilt. We have so much guilt, and that's something I learned also about history, that they have always blamed humans. They have always blamed the Oz, these rulers and lords. They have always blamed the masses for all the catastrophes that have come to pass. And sometimes you think about it, and it's just like what happened in Texas. There was this school, not school, it was summer camp that got flooded. It was a Christian summer camp that got flooded, and all these little children just perished. And you would say, I don't think that's how this works. I don't think that those people deserve that.
Right.
They were not bad, so it's not like they deserve it, so God came and punished them. That's kind of like the way that we had been fed, kind of like subconsciously and through, I don't know. I went to Catholic school, so there was a lot of guilt tripping, a lot of guilt. So I have to have dealt. I have to grow and understand how things, I'll try to understand and comprehend how everything works, and not feel so bad about myself. Because if I feel bad about myself, I also can project that into others and create or create a reality for me, right? Mm-hmm. Create a reality because I say, oh, I don't deserve that. I'm not deserving of love and abundance and peace. I deserve, I don't deserve it. I'm a bad person. So I think that's something that we all have to deal with. I think that humanity has been traumatized and by the natural catastrophes, unfortunately. So we are dealing with a lot of trauma. We all carry trauma that we, genetically came to this, when we were born. We have all these memories and generational memories of trauma, as well as the wars, and as well as the violence and just the hatred between people and how we treat each other. So we have to also deal with those traumas and how we were, I don't know, bullied or mistreated by whomever. So yes, I think that's also something interesting to think about. But I think that's something that we have been not taught, and we have been given the wrong information. So there is information that has been kept from us about the how this universe works. Just like you're saying, there's so much mystery to it, and everything is not just matter; it's frequency and energy. So yeah, it's just fascinating.
These comments are hilarious in here. There's some very deep comments, and then jokes, and then everything in between. But
sorry.
Yeah, we have such an eclectic group of people in here. It's amazing to read all the comments, and really awesome to see you all in here. Thank you so much for joining us. You should definitely also check out Tess's website, Mythos Decoded on Wix. I've actually got the link right here, so I'll put that for you folks. You can see mythosdecoded.wixsite.com/mythos. And Tess, you were saying that you had some really cool timelines decoded.
Yes.
Some that'd be fascinating to hear about that also.
Yes. Okay. So remember we were looking at the image, the chronology chart.
Yes. The chronology.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find that. I might have the older one, right? That you had sent to me.
Yep, the one that we used last time.
Okay, cool. Let me see if I can find that. Because that had so much information.
I guess you can't really share that in there. Okay.
Is it possible that you could resend it?
Yes, it's going to take a little bit because I can't send it here. So, okay. I just wanted to maybe in the meantime talk about while I send it. So we were kind of stopping. I just wanted to also take this back to this planet or whatever, the 2030 timeline. Well, one thing that happens is that in history, people don't know the exact timeline, so they know things are going to happen. Like you said, they knew about eclipses, and they knew about planets interacting with other planets. They knew about how the electric universe works, the phenomena that would happen afterwards. So besides all the science and very, very, very sophisticated, high technology that they had, so they always used the same kind of like recurring techniques with the people when they knew, oh, there's going to be a catastrophe, so, or we expect something to happen, so we are going to go ahead and tell these people this and that about what's coming. And something interesting that I have found is that, yeah, I'm still opening this, that they've been expecting the end of the world for a long time. You know, that's end times. It's always like, even in the 1898, I don't know if people know that, but they were expecting the end of the world just in 200 years ago. So prophets and messiahs were very common throughout time. And I just find that fascinating. And okay, here it is. That they did that, right? They just kind of like kept rehashing the recipe. Oh, wait a minute.
Is this it? This one right here?
Oh, it worked.
I found it.
It worked. Oh, yes. Perfect. Anyways, so as you can see, we can go backwards now, if that's what you want, because we went as far as, where did we stop last time? So this is the chronology of events from the time of the written history records that you can find from the time of before the deluge, the great deluge, like the time of Eden, which is called the purple dawn. It's the time of Eden, when we were around orbiting a red dwarf, probably, until the time of Jeshua, or the time that we actually came to orbit the sun, between the sun and Jupiter, or be close to the sun. So until, yes, or, well, I went a little bit further forward, if you can see that. And would you like to talk backwards, like from the time of Jeshua, or that's too boring?
Yeah, wherever you want to take it, Tess. This is great. You know how to bring the goods, so
okay. So
and kombucha.
Excellent. And then people can see here that other things happen. Oh, these are like really big events that change empires, cause great cataclysms and wars, but especially the empires, they were changing, and the gods, different gods to be worshipped. And that's how you go through time with people worshiping different gods, which is fascinating. So for example, here it is an example. Let's just talk about where the yellow colors are. Chronology of events. 323 BC, Alexander, so it's the far right column. Alexander the Great sees a comet. And in 312 BC, there was a new calendar created. Now, Alexander the Great was also worshiping, when you look at what was going on with him, he was actually worshiping a triad of planets, which included Jupiter, Mars, and I don't know if Venus. I think it was like 3. They had a triad. That was what he was kind of like going by. That's what all these people did. They had their planets that they protected them, or the gods, more that I could say, that equated to the planets. But then he changed to the sun, to just worshiping the sun, when he asked his, and I'm pretty sure it's this guy, yes, when he asked that, or it could be, no, I don't think it's Constantine, but the same thing happened further in time, like in 323 AD, actually, or 300 and something AD, with Constantine the Great, something very similar. But I think it was this guy that said, hey, what's going on? What is this star that I'm seeing? And they told him, that's Apollo. That's Apollo. So then he changed from worshiping the other 3 planets to worship Apollo, which is really cool. And then the Seleucid era is established. That has to do with the calendar. Then in 239 BC, Aristarchus creates a new calendar. And for the first time ever, he noticed that Earth started to orbit close to the sun. For the first time, they didn't have any records before. So he was like, oh my gosh, we're getting closer. Interesting. And then in 198 to 180 BC, the Chinese calendar was reformed because, yes, everything was changing. So they could not go and measure the entering of the solstices and the different times of the year where they should, the calendars to plant and harvest, which was very important so people could survive. They were reformed as well. And then Hipparchus calculates also around this time, for the first time ever, the tropical solar year, and the solar year count began. So that's when the solar year versus the lunar year, or the lunar months, going by the lunar months from new moon to new moon, began. Previously, a year equated 1 lunar month. Apollo becomes the sun. Helios, Sol Invictus. That's when he becomes to be the main one to be worshipped. And then, should I continue?
Please.
Okay, 48 BC, Caesar adopts Aristarchus' calendar. So it took a while because imagine there's all these changes going around the planet and people have no idea what's going on. They're like, well, the masses never knew what day of the month it was, by the way. Never. They were just told. Someone would come out and say, okay, this is the day where you get paid. This is the day, today is the day where you are going to harvest. Today is the day that we're going to celebrate New Year's. Yeah, because it was changing so much. People had no clue. So they just, could make little ones and like just mark the days that would go by. That's all they could do. So that's interesting to know. In 48 BC, Caesar adopted this calendar, but in 44 BC, Venus approached Earth very close, and Julius Caesar ascended into the star Venus after he was assassinated. Well, that's what they told people. Again, he didn't really ascend and become Venus, but they told the people that when they saw Venus, I think that was his son, it's not his son, his nephew, I believe, Augustus Caesar, who actually came after the assassination to be the Caesar. He was probably related somehow to Julius. I can't remember exactly how, but he said, that is my ancestor, and he ascended. That's Julius. So he now represents the star Venus. I don't know if you know this, but this is what they told the people. And
no, there was something real interesting about that. I'm glad you mentioned that. There is a painting from the Renaissance era. I showed this with David Sarita because we looked at how he had done some filtering with the 3-eye atlas and made it look like an egg yolk almost, and almost kind of like a spacecraft with something in it a little bit. I showed that earlier today. But there's an image where Jesus is on the cross, and there are 2 objects on each side of him that look like some type of flying craft, and there's people in them. One of those has the symbol of Inanna, Ishtar, Isis, Venus. So interesting that you said that. Please get the wow.
Yes. Well, okay. So you said there's Christ, the crucifixion. Is it like in the blue? I have that image, I think. And there's these 2 stars, and the angels are seen inside, and they have all these spikes, and then the symbols of the stars. Yes. I've talked about that. Well, that's interesting because during the time of the crucifixion, they were expecting John the Baptist, which I think I'm going to mention right here. Okay, let me read it because that's exactly what I'm going to get into. So yes, those were comets. And Mars, it could have been also Mars and Venus. So Venus approached 44 BC. That was what the astronomers calculated, the closest approach of Venus. But then some decades later, in this 575-year cycle, we approach Mars, or Mars close approaches Earth. So either or. And it causes catastrophes. And remember, it has all its moons. So we have to deal with the moons as well. But in 4 BC, Augustus reforms the calendar. And this is Jesus' birth per Luke's gospel. And that's why they also show Jesus as the sun, the sun, besides with a halo, they were referring to him as the son of the sun. The age of Pisces began right at this time. And there's also, there you go. That's the one. Exactly.
You see the symbol of Isis?
Yes.
Right there. Boom.
Yes. So what they mean in there is not that it's spaceships. That means that the angels are the planets that God controls. And the angels are the planets, which is what Velikovsky very clearly said. And he gave each planet a name, like Michael was Venus, Gabriel was Mars, and I can't remember the others, but Jupiter had its angel and all of that. And then the God says, bring the angel to punish humanity, or to punish this guy over there, this kingdom over there, or whatever. And then that's what people were told. So that's why they have this icons of the angels controlling the star planet. And there's a star. So yes, indeed. And that what happened during the crucifixion is that John the Baptist calculated twice the end of the world, but it didn't happen as bad as they thought. So they thought that probably Mars was going to be having, or causing, one of the moons causing a lot of problems with Earth. But it looks like there was a 3-hour eclipse during the crucifixion, and a lot of earthquakes in the area that are noted by the historians. So something happened. And then the Essenes later on also expected the end of the world, according to what John the Baptist had said. So they were still expecting it on 70 AD, and some catastrophes happened, but that's why. And maybe I think I mentioned that here as well. So in 4 BC, Augustus reforms the calendars, and Jesus' birth takes place per Luke's gospel. In 30 AD, John the Baptist, sorry.
I was like, what is that? Oh, it's a little puppy.
No, it's not a little puppy. One sec.
Sure, take your time. Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention, please? Tess has a cute dog that she's taking care of right now, and it wants to be a part of the podcast. It's just like, let me out. Let me do some tricks in front of the Leak Project audience.
Okay, I don't know what to do. She's just looking at me whining. So
you want to let her over?
Oh, okay. Okay. If you want, can you read? Like after in 30 AD, John the Baptist, he had the Pythagorean knowledge.
Yeah, let me find it. In 30 AD, where's 30 AD at? Where's it at?
You can read right below the black, where it's black, the line, the next paragraph that starts with 4 BC.
48 BC, Caesar?
4 BC. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 4 BC, that's what you want me to read?
Yep, you can start from there.
Okay, folks, check this out. 4 BC, Augustus reforms calendar and Jesus' birth per Luke's gospel. In 30 AD, John the Baptist's Pythagorean knowledge predicted the end times approaching as Mars close approached. He fells the prediction twice is decapitated and Jesus crucified, but the comet Mars caused a 3-hour eclipse of the sun and earthquakes during the crucifixion. He survived and left to India or Tibet, possibly. Pregnant Magdalene goes with Jesus's uncle Joseph of Arimathea to France, where she carries the royal blood, or sangre, the real chalice.
Sangre real. Yeah, sangre real. The chalice. Yes, no.
Okay.
Well done.
I learned from Beavis and Butthead. I apologize.
No, well, this is a version. This is a version, again, this is a version of the story according to the Gnostics. So people know. This is according to the Gnostics. Of course, there's a different version. about what happened to Jesus. So yes, this is according to the Gnostic. But yes, the 3-hour eclipse, the earthquakes. So yes. Anyways, so then continuing, the age of Pisces was entered around the time of Jesus' birth. Dionysius Exiguus in 1540 AD calculated that the entrance of the age of Pisces happened then and created a new Christian calendar. That's why he created the Christian calendar Anno Mundi in 1540 AD. And this was used since then. Well, since the creation of the lines of Adam and Eve, Anno Mundi, yes, is what was used until Dionysius Exiguus said, for Christians only, let's create a different calendar. And this one is going to be starting from the time of Yeshua or Jesus' birth. And we're going to call it Anno Domini, year of our Lord, instead of year of the world. And then the year of the Lord, 1 AD, was used to mark both the birth of Jesus or Yeshua and the age of Pisces entering, which also coincided with the sun, that we were getting closest to the sun. And Jesus was represented as, oh yes, this is it. Oops. Sorry, don't trip. Yeshua was represented.
Oh, your mic is way off now.
Sorry.
Now it's good.
Sorry. Poppy tripped on that.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So Jesus, Yeshua, was represented as Sol Invictus, our current sun or Apollo, after this time. Yes. They were representing him.
Sorry, your mic has we got feedback on your mic. I apologize. Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, stand by. We have some just technical opportunities here real quick. Tess is getting her microphone fixed and feeding the dog at the same time. You come here often? All right, I think we're good.
Okay, yeah, the dog tripped on the cable, sorry.
Oh, no problem. No problem at all.
Cables here. All right. So, yes, that was really interesting. So, the age of Pisces began. We came to be closest to the sun. So, Sol Invictus was equated to Yeshua, who for the Christians was, the very, very important savior and Messiah. And then after Jesus died, she was shown just as Julius Caesar had been shown ascending to heaven and kind of holding the hand of God, and then becoming the star Comet seen in heaven that eclipsed the sun during 3 hours that I mentioned above, that caused the great earthquakes and other disasters in 33 AD. So I don't know if people know that, but I thought it was very interesting. So it was equated. Yes, it was just the iconography. And I'm not going to tell you why. You can go and figure out why it was Julius Caesar and Jesus shown as ascending and becoming a planet star. Yes, it's food for thought. And that's what was going on. And should we go backward in time? Should we go back and talk?
I want to go back in time. Let's go watch Saturday cartoons and eat cereal with extra sugar.
Oh no, that sounds horrible.
Sounds awesome.
No,
you didn't have to worry about anything then, except for nuclear war with the Soviet Union and making sure that you made it to your, that the rerun that you're making it to the cartoons, because you've only got like 7 channels. So, gosh.
Well, has anything changed?
Yes. Now there's a lot more of nothing on and a lot more nonsense, and it's like it's nonsense amplified. Back then, it was a lot simpler. You didn't have to have your cell phone everywhere you went. You didn't have to have GPS to get across the street. You didn't have to check out the latest meme or worry about what somebody's saying on Facebook. You went out and did stuff. It was awesome. And now it's like this digital matrix that's usurping up people's souls to feed the artificial beast. Okay, I'll stop. This kombucha's getting to me. But it's still awesome. I still love it because you still have, it's like now you have more choices, I guess. but it's, you got to get away from the doom scrolling sometimes and just go out, stick your feet in the dirt, let some, oh my gosh, it's a beautiful day today. I'm going to hit mute. Please continue, Tess. Mute me.
No, you are right on. You have to seize the day and unplug from the electronics. Just watch these. Just watch these.
Yes.
And unplug from the electronics. Just watch good stuff. And I mean, it's good to know what's going on in in the insane world, but I just call it, like many people, a clown show. I think it's just a clown show, and you just have to see it for what it is. And of course, it's not funny when people get hurt and killed. That's not funny, of course, but it's still just like a circus, right? It's just like a circus. And yes, times are very fascinating with all this electromagnetic electromagnetic pollution that we are surrounded by constantly. And yes, we have to try to heal. Oh, I just learned something really interesting, that if you get a tan, I learned this from Mike Adams, the health ranger. If you get a tan and you have melatonin, kind of production, and you take melatonin, or it helps with the sun. That's like a natural way of getting melatonin in your body to create the pigment. Then you are actually protected. You have a higher protection against electromagnetic fields than if you are never going out in the sun, never getting a suntan. So yes, that's quite fascinating. But wow. Yes, of course, buy the stuff that people sell. If you want to have a little extra protection for your electronics and maybe yourself, I mean, yes, I do that. But yeah, get a tan. Go out in the sun and get a tan, and just not when it's too hot, so you don't get burnt. But yes, recurring. Let's see, the more catastrophes here. Let's talk about catastrophes. Well, I think we ended in Anno Mundi 2230 to 2100 BC, when Jupiter, the bull of heaven, captured Earth. There were mutations, giants shrink, and they started aging. I don't know if we talked about this. Do you remember, Rex, if we talked about this?
Vaguely. I think it'd be good to touch on it again, though.
Okay. So the people started aging. They started shrinking in size. So they were considered giants before, and then skeletons have been found, but many people, but quickly taken away and hidden and put out of people's sight. So that's again hiding the history of the giants and giantism and how we started shrinking. But the Spaniards have records of seeing giants as late as the 1400s. They were still giants in in South America. I think they were going by Chile, and up in the mountains, they were supposed to have been a lot of surviving giants, which I think is fascinating. And let's see what else happened. Jupiter and Neptune's thunderbolts happen at this time. Mars and comets cause the Jordan, or form the Jordan Rift, which is called the Dead Sea. And Utah Salt Lake, most likely at that time, from the stories of the people that live in that area, and natives, and also canyons, the Great Canyon, Sodom and Gomorrah could have been all created at this time, the time of Sodom and Gomorrah. And Sodom and Gomorrah, also the fire of brimstone and sand and brimstone, what they call it, was also a lot of volcanic eruptions that were happening around that time, around that area. And besides, the electrical discharges, which, could be linked to that. The same thing, again, volcanoes erupt when there's a lot of heightened electricity on the planet, as well as everything else happening, all the natural phenomena, flash flooding and very strong earthquakes, which I forgot to tell you, Rex, that I looked at the day of the very strong earthquake that happened, the 8.9 earthquake in Russia.
Yeah.
And the same day, we were connecting to the tails of two meteor showers, to two comets. So there was so that could have been related. It's very common that happens. So I thought that was interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. And okay, so back at this time, this is the time of the War of the Titans, mentioned by the Greeks. yes, around 2100 BC. Gilgamesh, the time of Gilgamesh, which Rex has talked about a lot, covered a lot in depth. Thor and Zeus, Jupiter, Ninurta, or Yahweh and Jehovah were the main people that were the lords that were ruled as the main ones, the top honchos. Then in Anno Mundi 2128, which equals 1820 BC, Jupiter flared again, and this is what was called the Eye of Ra, and the symbol created by the Egyptians is inspired by these catastrophes and these plasma or giant thunderbolts that they could see from Jupiter. So they call it the Eye of Ra, which is fascinating. And comet causes mutations plus comets. So it was Jupiter doing that, plus, it's full of its own moons. So there was a lot coming towards Earth. There was mutations. A new race of humans was said to be created at this time, shown by, anyways, I'll continue. I think it comes further down here where there's so much stuff happening that I could not include everything. But I think if this is a time of Dardanus, it might be the next paragraph, that they say that a new race of mankind was created. And this is interesting, Rex, but that time, I think they also say that a race of beings comes to Earth from Saturn or something like that. So yeah, I have to go back, but it's in one of my ebooks that talks about the Golden Age, and my videos that can be seen by everyone. I think you can see them freely on Odyssey. Anyways, so this happened. Yeah. So this is the time of Typhon or Puths on the time of Isaac's famine. So when you read the Bible, this is the timeline. Then in 2040 BC, the captured by Jupiter cut short the age of the bull. So that means that the age of Taurus should have lasted longer, but it was cut short. And that's why they have this picture of the bull getting cut off. I don't know if you remember that, but that's what the Egyptians have. It's very it's kind of important for this timeline. And the age of Capricorn, or the ram, began. And that's correct, right? Is Capricorn the ram? I hope it is.
Yes. The goat,
perfect.
The ram. Yeah.
Okay. So the goat, that's equated to Marduk. In 2030 BC, Jupiter rose in the opposite direction and the calendar changed. And that's also in the Bible, and you can see Velikovsky talks about this and who had the information. He's very detailed where that comes from, the sources. Then in 1790 BC, Hammurabi, he is the first dynasty in Babylon, rules, and he creates the laws of Hammurabi. And he was actually ruling on behalf of Marduk. So the gods were not really handling the masses, the plebs. They were in their beautiful temples away. And then they had their high priests dealing with, and their rulers dealing with, like Hammurabi, dealing with the masses, like, the prime ministers or whatever. Then Marduk also ruled in Egypt at the time, and he was called Zeus Ammon. So he was going back and forth. And Amun-Ra, that's the other name that he goes by. Marduk supplanted Ninurta for Jupiter. So Ninurta or Adad used to represent Jupiter. But remember, Marduk, for whatever reason, maybe due to the catastrophes, he said, I'm going to be the sole ruler now. Instead of being many gods, I'm going to be the dictator. I'm going to be the only one ruling. And Adad is going to go bye-bye. I represent Jupiter now, because Jupiter was actually causing all these disasters. So he was the main planet to be feared and revered, and that's how they did it. So the planet that was causing the most catastrophes on Earth was the planet that the people at the time ruling would say they equated to themselves. I'm controlling, I am this planet. I am the planet, and I'm here on Earth, but I control this planet. And his father, Ea, became to represent Saturn, where before he represented Neptune. He was his planet that he represented, and supplants Ninurta for Saturn. And that's why now it's very confusing when people are talking about Saturnian and the Saturn worship and the Saturn death cult and all of that. You're trying to figure out, okay, is it from this time when Marduk and when Ea or Enki became to be represented for Saturn, or was it before? So yeah, just something to think about because it got changed. And then in Anno Mundi 2429 or 1519 BC, Venus and Neptune plus its moons, because they have all the moons around, cause the sinking of Atlantis. And we went into depth with the Rex. And I don't know if people remember about the sinking of Atlantis according to Plato's timeline. And at the war, it happened during the rule of Jupiter and at the time of the war with Athens, which was not created before 1500 BC. It wasn't there too long before. So there you go. That's another way you can figure out what is the timeline of the sinking of Atlantis. The plagues, catastrophes, there was axis tilts, happened at this time as well. Anno Mundi 2429 or 1519 BC. That's what it's called, Phaeton's conflagration. So yes, Plato talks about Phaeton, that he actually equated to a planet. And by losing the control of his steeds, or he was supposed to be the son of Helios, Phaeton, and he was supposed to be in charge of, his father let him control the 4 steeds, which are the moons, usually planets or moons. And he lost control and he caused catastrophes on Earth. And Plato, which is really cool, he actually tells you what they're talking about. They're referring to catastrophes because of the planet actually lost it changed its orbit and it came too close to Earth, and it actually caused fires, but it also caused ice to be formed. So that means like an actual tilt, probably. Anno Mundi 2432 or 1516 BC. This is the time of, so this is what I was talking about. Okay, so as late as 1516 BC, this is the time of King Deucalion and Queen Pyrrha surviving the flood on Mount Parnassus. So a lot of people think this is the flood of Noah, but it's not. It's at this time, as late as 1516 BC. And you can go by the timeline of the kings and, the epochs that they lived. And at this time, so they had the same idea, they would get on boats or ships and they would try to go up into the mountains after the flood was subsided. So they were in Greece in this area, these two that were the kings and queen of Greece, and they survived. And from that time is when they say that a new race of mankind was created and that the people came from a planet, and I can't remember which planet, but yes, that's what they say in the Plato. That's what they say in their records. It's very fascinating. So yes, like aliens would come down from a planet, or people will come down from a planet. And again, so we have to go back and check that out or you guys should go out and check it out because it's really interesting and pertaining to the aliens or the space travelers. Anno Mundi 2453, 1495 BC. This is the time of the Exodus. So it's very close to the time of to Phaeton's conflagration and the flood of Deucalion. But it's just a little bit afterwards. So there was many catastrophes happening back to back a few years later. And the Exodus happens at this time. Moses builds a golden calf and also a serpent. And he was confused. He didn't know who to worship. The serpent represented Venus and the golden calf represented Jupiter. So that's why he was trying to go like, okay, who should we worship? Because we want to survive, so let's worship. And they also used this as technology to protect themselves from thunderbolts. It was like a para-ray or something like that. That's the interesting thing about the golden calf or the serpent. The Augean flood during Joshua's time in 1500 BC happens at this time. This is the time of the end of the Bronze Age, and the flood of Dardanus happens. The Black Sea, that's where the flood, like they say that the Black Sea overfilled within 3 or 4 days. There was nothing there. There was settlements of Bronze Age settlements down at the bottom of this Black Sea area, and then suddenly it was filled up. So that was a big catastrophe, big flood again. This is a time of the Mahabharata events. So the Mahabharata is talking about, just like the War of the Titans, about the planets interacting with each other and causing catastrophes on Earth, big catastrophes. The age of the Kali Yuga begins at this time, and Krishna dies. So it's related to the death of Krishna, which his city of Dwarka sank, and it's been found to exist. And they calculate that this is a time when it sank. The Egyptian Thoth, or that has different names, Quetzalcoatl possibly could have been the same guy, or Kukulkan, rule in Mexico. So they were traveling, going back and forth. Like I said, they would go back and they would see there was many catastrophes before this time, but then they would go back and they would rebuild civilization and, make sure that everything was running correctly and create new technology with what they had and all of that. So the Olmec, so Kukulkan rules in Mexico, and this is the time of the building of Tula, which they were saying that it was built by giants from Atlantis. So it totally makes sense. That's what they believe in Mexico. That's what the ancient knowledge is. And this is known as the Olmec culture, which could have been people from Africa that thought, from Egypt, because he also ruled there. He could have just brought a bunch of Black people. That's why the Olmec heads look totally like Black or Indian. They also look like they were Hindus, like it was very interesting. Then they go to Polynesia after here. So Thoth goes to Polynesia afterwards. That's what the legends of the people on Polynesia say, and they're redheaded, blue eyes, their ancestors, and it makes sense with the timeline. Machu Picchu is built at this time. Tao Timaeus rules in Egypt. Tao or Yao rules in China. Yahweh is the important one in Egypt. And Aten is being worshipped as Venus. So Aten is Venus. And Athena is from Aten also, which was in Greece. That was the one being worshipped, or the main ruler.
I just had an idea. Sorry, Tess. I just real quick. An idea I wanted to throw out there for you. So,
of course,
what if when certain gods or goddesses or people that claim to be a god or goddess, and they say they come from the heavens, or they say they come from Venus or a specific star or planet or constellation, what if it's actually representing their astrological star chart?
Explain that a little bit more.
If you study astrology, like deep astrology, there's different houses in the zodiac. So where you're born and when you're born signifies how much of these planets you have in your star chart. And some people that tend to be a little bit more on the how do I put this nicely? Crazy side. They'll have a multitude of signs or stars from the chart in one house. They'll have a whole bunch of these planets in one house, and their zodiac itself has 12 houses. And typical, I think, Hindu astrology has. They use a different type of astrology than Western astrology. But they use what they call houses. They have these different houses that represent maybe parts of the stars. And when a multitude of planets line up in these houses, oftentimes people seem to have Well, it can be very accurate, very, very accurate, regardless. I was joking around when I said crazy, kind of not, but like it has a lot to do. If you study star charts and you're really good at it, you can oftentimes see what people's potentials and downfalls and really understand people sometimes more than they understand themselves. So I am wondering if it goes back to when people claim to be from Venus or certain locations, if it actually might represent their star chart. There would be a way we could figure that out, actually, is we could look at the dates and the birth dates of these people, and then we could link it to Western astrology and Eastern astrology and see, you know, if one, like you said, who claims to be from Venus?
Well, no, they don't claim to be from Venus. They claim to control the planet Venus.
Oh, they claim to control the planet Venus. Okay,
yes.
I was a little bit
control. Yes, and therefore control all the disasters on Earth. So that's why people were afraid of them, and that's why they were able to do whatever they wanted, because people were terrified, scared of these people, because they didn't want to get killed by that planet, and they knew they controlled the planet, or that's what they were told. That's what they believed.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And but there is a link, of course, to astrology with all this with the planets happening. And of course, there's electromagnetic fields that affect the brain and people and the time of birth. So yes, it does affect that. Now, the interesting thing about to consider is that if the solar system was being changed and the Earth was moving through the solar system and other planets were changing, especially during this timeline, because you can see how catastrophic it is. This is a lot of changes. It's not a little thing. It's like a big deal. It's like the solar system being formed and Earth coming into the solar system, or Gaia being captured by the Reboad, or what's the name, the bad one? Anyways, that's what the Gnostic text referred to. So
the payoff is the supreme archon.
Yes, exactly. So the planets were all changing, and that would be a little confusing because nothing was stable. So that would be the part that is confusing. But there's definitely a relationship to the astrology and astrology with these planets. But these people said no, they were controlling the planets, so they could create a lot of fear in their subjects, in humans, and then they would worship them. And just do whatever they were told to do, and then that kept happening until just recently. I mean, very, very recently, in medieval times. That's what they were telling people, basically.
No wonder astrology is looked at as demonic and from the devil, because if people understood astrology, then they wouldn't think that somebody could control Venus. Whoa! Sorry to interrupt. You're just so many epiphanies here, Tess. You're blowing my mind. This is amazing. Wow. Did you leave? She's like, I'm out of here.
I'm trying to not have her pull the cord. Can you please? Thank you.
I've heard enough, Rex Bear.
Good girl. No. That's all good. It's all good. Good girl. So people can't see us, right? It's just the screen. Okay, good.
Well, they can kind of see us. Like,
can they?
They can't. We're off screen.
No.
We're off screen.
Oh, okay. That's fine. So they can see the chart. I'm almost done anyways here. Okay, so where are we? Okay, actually we're not almost done, kind of getting there. In 1040 BC, or around close to 1040 BC, Venus, Mars, and the moon interacted with each other and with Earth, and that is what it's called the Odyssey, or that's what the Odyssey was created about, to talk about these planetary events, and that's what it narrates. And this is the time where Troy is destroyed. Jason and the Argonauts timeline. King David sees the angel Venus. That was the angel. That's King David, and that's why they have the symbol of Venus. Okay, the pentagram, or the. Yeah, well, anyways, it became to be known as the pentagram, but it was most likely Venus. There was famine, pestilence, the dispersion of Israel's tribes happened at this time, the new kingdoms of Egypt and starts. the New Kingdom. Sorry, the dog is kind of distracting me a little bit here. Okay, where was I? New Kingdom of Egypt starts. Oh yeah, it's called the New Kingdom in Egypt. The Seal of Solomon. Oh, it's the Seal of Solomon represents the star of Venus. And it's also related, remember, to the bloodlines and who the people have represented as well. So Inanna would be, or Lilith could be implied here as well. So it can get a little confusing. Anno Mundi 2770 or 1178 BC. This is the time of the Iliad's events or planetary events. So they were interacting Venus, Mars, and the moon. The times of the Amazon happened at this time. So they were real, they existed. And Diodorus Siculus mentions that they were erased from history because, the men afterwards were very angry that the women were such good warriors that they just had to erase them from history. It's like, no, we can't have that. And the War of the Thebans happens here. After Dardanus' flood, his grandson Troas founded Troy in Anno Mundi 35, 37, or 431 BC. Then in 1860 BC, Elamarna, the time of Elamarna in Egypt happens, or it's taking place. Mars, Venus, and the moon events happen at this time. And that was 800 to 700 BC. Mars approaches. So within 800 to 700 BC, Mars approached every 15 years and over a century. So it caused a lot of problems on Earth. The calendar and axis changed in 747 BC, 700 BC, and 687 BC. During the reign of Nabopolassar, the cataclysms of 650 BC happened. Nabopolassar was also the high priest of Nabu. That was the son of Marduk. So this is the timeline of where his son would have been reigning, Marduk's son Nabu. And that's why it's called Nabopolassar. It has the prefix of the god that they're worshiping. The cataclysms of 650 BC and 610 BC made the calendar change constantly. During Nebuchadnezzar's reign, there was catastrophes of 605 BC to 502 BC. And in 593 BC, that allowed, all these catastrophes allowed him to conquer Jerusalem. Venus approached around 619 BC, and it was worshipped as Tanit in Carthage, with a symbol of a pyramid with a sphere at the top and like two hands going up. That's the symbol that the Saturn myth, David Talbot used as the polar configuration, and that was really Tanit from Carthage at this time. Europe and America Europe and America. Oh, yes. So Tanit, besides being worshipped in Carthage, was also worshipped in Europe, in Spain. They found her there, and in America. So they knew about her. This and the symbol was being seen, the same symbol. So that's fascinating. Then Cyrus the Great in 538 or 537 BC is ruling at the time. He frees the Jews in Babylon. And he was able to do this because Earth's axis moved. There was catastrophes happening at the time. And he became to be one of the messiahs of the Jewish people at the time, or known to be as a messiah and savior. And he was shown definitely with horns and just like the planets. And it's really cool when you see the iconography of these people. And Pythagoras lived at this time. His model shows the Earth as a comet. So that's why they have the geocentric solar system, because Earth is traveling like a comet. So she's the center of the solar system, and the planets are going by her, or she's going by the planets. And then the model changes with his student, Philolaus, he changed the model in 500 BC, where it shows Earth as being tidally locked to Jupiter. And this is really interesting because this model was what the Thunderbolt, actually David Talbot took this model and then he changed it, and he put Earth tidally locked to Saturn. Isn't that crazy? So anyways, so instead of saying, okay, Earth was, this model comes from Philolaus, no, he took it out, or someone took it out from that model, and then they said, oh, this is how Earth is totally locked to Saturn, but it was taken from here. So we were totally locked to Jupiter, who could have been also partially a red dwarf star at the time, and for a little bit. And then in 500 BC, excuse me, Philolaus, another student of Pythagoras, I talked about that already. There was another one after that. And then, so 450 BC is where Earth is shown totally locked to Jupiter. Then Athena, Ares, and Aphrodite rule at this time. So they are the main people, or the main gods that people were fearing, and everyone was trying to worship them, and made rites and sacrifices. And there was a lot of human sacrifice ongoing. It wasn't just to one star, like not only to Saturn, but it was to everyone. Like they found for the goddess Tanit, they found a lot of bones of little children, like very, very young kids and toddlers. And it's probably due to this. One sec.
I'm still thinking about the mindset of getting people to believe you controlled these heavenly events, like plasma strikes from Venus or movements from the planets that caused events to take place on Earth. And that would be such a powerful way to control the masses, to keep people in check. And it's a generational thing as well. I mean, it's something that people are born into, believing certain ways and having certain mindsets. It's frightening and fascinating at the same time how powerful beliefs are.
Yes. So imagine just these 6,000 years alone. We don't even know what was happening before this. And thanks everyone for your nice comments. I can't type right now because I'm on a different place, but I'm not on YouTube. But thank you everyone for your lovely comments always. I send you a lot of love and gratitude, and for being here and listening. But yes, Rex, imagine with all these catastrophes, so many catastrophes, and still we haven't even gotten into the ones from the last 2,000 years, which were also recurring. They just kept happening, perhaps not as bad as this one, except for the time of the Justinian plague, which was another approach of Venus to Earth, which was around 531 AD. And that was bad. That was really, really bad. I think that probably, I don't know, 1/4 or half of the world's population perished from that. 50 years also of plagues, the Justinian plague, that's what it was called. That was a lot. That was really hard. But look how incredibly tough people are. I mean, look at how many humans we have here with all these catastrophes. It's incredible. I just find it amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so pole shifts and orbital changes and Earth being like a comet, and we're still here, going strong. They're trying to get rid of a bunch of humans.
Yeah, don't you like how certain factors and factions say things like, there's too many people. We need more humanoid robots, though.
Yeah.
Well, you want to cut the population down to humans, but you want more humanoid robots. Very bizarre. But it makes sense.
That's interesting that you say that, Rex, because I've been thinking about that, and I've been thinking, okay, are they trying to? Are they trying to? Do they know something big is coming, or something not I mean, something big that was supposed to happen didn't happen, and they want to get away with a bunch of humans because naturally the universe gets rid of a bunch of humans, maybe not all of them, but a lot. So it's like a new blank slate to start almost. So I've been thinking about that. It's like either they were expecting something to happen and it didn't happen, maybe with Hellbob and I don't know, 2012 and the year 2000, or now the year again, 2030. Are they expecting maybe something to happen and they want to have their robots? Although I don't know if their technology is going to survive, to be honest, because if there is the power grid, no power grid, you can't really do anything. You're going to have to start from scratch. So that's what I've been trying to understand. What are they thinking? What are they trying to change? Yeah, it's almost like they're not worried about what they're doing to the planet and to us, because maybe they think that, oh, well, there's natural catastrophes, so who cares? It's going to happen anyway. So, and everything, then it's going to get back to normal. Things will come back eventually, because after all these catastrophes and radiation and mutations, we are, maybe mutated, maybe, shrunken in size, looking different. Yes, with a different skin. And as before, we're still here. So I think maybe that's what they think. But I am a little bit like trying to figure out what they're thinking, trying to get in their head and just trying to understand what is that they're doing. And maybe I don't know if you remember, Rex, but speaking of that, oh gosh, I don't know if it's the same guy, but he was the previous military head of the Israeli military. Do you remember that he came out and said that the aliens had agreements with the governments of the world to do experiments on Earth and all humans and all life on the planet for the welfare of the whole solar system or the galaxy? Like they were like, oh, well, we need to know what's going on here so we can help others everywhere else. So we're like a lab rat kind of planet. Do you remember he said that?
Well, you're talking about Haim Eshed, and I'm actually looking at the NBC News article right now. Former Israeli space security chief says extraterrestrials exist and Trump knows about it. A galactic federation has been waiting for humans to reach the stage where we will understand what space and spaceships are, Haim Eshed said. And if you go back to what he allegedly said and claims, is that there is a highly advanced Martian civilization underground on Mars. We're working with them to some degree, special projects. We know about them. They're a galactic federation, and they're not ready to make themselves known yet because we don't understand space or spaceships enough yet, which I found that very bizarre. Like, okay, so you're not going to let yourselves known completely because our collective consciousness doesn't understand space well enough, or spaceships. That's seems kind of like a cop-out. That's a weak excuse to me, especially if you're a highly advanced Martian race. What the hell does not understanding space or spaceships enough have anything to do with it? I would think it would be a little bit more personal, like where we are consciously, like where, what we feel about certain aspects of nature and creation, the creator, the cycles of life, etc. But, that's just my thoughts. And like, I'm just a conspiracy guy in high elevation here. So Southern Colorado, but I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt if some of what he said is true. It could be a complete psyop. It could be absolutely true. If anybody would know, it'd be this guy. And to make claims that we're working with them to some degree, I find that amazing. I just don't buy the excuse as why they're not going to make themselves known. Like maybe it would be because people, when you get people in big groups, they're easily manipulated and they go into like zombie mode very easy. And maybe there's not a whole lot of them. And with 7 billion people, they could be imagining 7 billion people turning into basically crazy cats on methamphetamines as a metaphor. That's probably what they're seeing. They're like, yeah, maybe now's not the best time, but we'll tell you and you can tell them, because, you know, some of us can be in the know, but they can't publicly know. But that'd be a good excuse for Elon to go to Mars. And I've seen enough anomalies from the satellite images, like the Viking orbiter from 76 and the Mars project that's working on the HiRISE program, satellite technology, that shows some very bizarre anomalies on Mars. So I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome. And I'm rambling, but yeah, I think that, that going back, I think that we're going to colonize it again. And people within 20, 30 years are probably going to have contracts where they can work on Mars.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, they have to. I mean, they should. They should. It's always been probably populated, so why not go back to and continue, right?
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Preston showed up. He's like, can I go? Yeah. All right. Sure, buddy. I'll catch up with you in a little bit. Absolutely. I'm talking to a bunch of people on YouTube right now. You want to say hi? Okay.
Hi, Preston.
Right on. All right. Little pattern interrupt there. So anyway, Martians and
Martians. Well, that's interesting. We'll see what happens now with Mars and this celestial object with maybe spaceships behind it. That's what I would call it. Maybe it would make more sense than being a gigantic thing, but we'll see what happens to Mars. That'll be interesting. But also what I was going to say is that after these catastrophes happen, there's always a lot of minerals, precious minerals found, because either they are kind of like carved out, like they come out from after being kind of like the earth opening up, turning upside down, being overturned, I should say, or floods washing away dirt to expose a lot of clay and dirt and rock to expose minerals, also as minerals incoming down with the planets, which is also what the ancients said. They said that gold was the tears. The people in the Incas said that the gold that they had there was the tears of Jupiter, that they were the tears of Jupiter. So it rained down from Jupiter. And also oil, just the oil that we use, to drive our cars, was seen coming down and known as bitumen with these catastrophes. So yes, maybe a catastrophe comes and destroys and causes problems, but then all this new wealth of elements is there to be extracted. Yeah.
So cool. It's so fascinating to talk with you. I could talk with you for hours. We take this so deep, and any conversation we get into, well, if we start veering off into these different,
okay.
Yeah. Wow. So cool. Are we still going?
Oh, if you want to end, unless you want to say, no, I agree with you 100%. I think it's just fascinating times. And it's like that. Let the show begin or continue.
Nice.
The cosmic show.
Nice.
Now it's a cosmic show. I think it's going to be more. But no, I agree with you. I just wanted to say I agree with you that it's a red flag that this guy says that they're not going to show themselves to us. The aliens are not going to show themselves to us. I think it's just a red flag. It's like, why wouldn't they? If we already know, we can take it. We can handle it. Believe me, humans can handle. We've been prepared with all these movies. We've been psychologically prepared with all the alien movies and good aliens. There's not only bad aliens, but in the movies, I'm saying.
E.T.
But yes, I think that's a red flag. So, yeah.
E.T. phone home. He was not a bad alien. He was, E.T. found home. He was so, he was so adorable, man. Now they're like, we will eliminate you. You will usurp into our pods. You will be the pod people. We will use our artificial intelligence from the Roswell crash to infiltrate your servers and take over your planet. You will download this into your brain in the near future. It'll be about the size of a piece of rice. Man, I better quit
Oh my
joking
gosh.
because my jokes turn into reality too often.
Well, that's
Oh,
the good
wow.
news. Good news about all that, all the
Yeah.
technocracy.
Yeah.
It's going to be melted. It's going to be melted and destroyed. It's not going to last because it's very vulnerable. And it's all made out of what? Mostly iron, steel. I mean, there's some copper. Only copper and gold can withstand really, really bad, like heavy duty electrical discharges and geomagnetic storms. And all the, I mean, yeah, we might lose the, the internet, but oh well, if we're going to be freed, we've talked about this. So it's not all doom and gloom. No, we have hope. And I think hope is coming from out there.
Pocket realities. That's going to be the near future. People are going to create pocket realities with their Meta headphone platform, full face integration.
It's not going to last.
They're going to, well, but if you could change time in the VR, so 1 year could be 1 minute here. You could feel like you could literally live a virtual reality year in 1 minute here. That's going to happen in the next 5 or so years. I predict. They're DARPA,
it could
maybe.
Be. Yeah, it could be. If nothing really bad happens by 2030, yeah, we have 4 years left. So maybe they're doing their experiment and seeing how cool it is, how far they can get. How far can we get? Wow. Let's see what we can do. But they know that their time is up for it just happens. Look at the catastrophes. I mean, it's recurring and it keeps happening. It just doesn't stop. So I think that's,
that's why they're going to Mars. That's why they're going to Mars, because something big's going to happen here. And even though Mars is a whole other ball game right now, and it's so extreme, maybe they see something happening here. So if they can jump to Mars, rebuild Mars, and then send people back to Earth in, I don't know how many years, and other places in the solar system. We've probably done this before as a civilization.
Oh, for sure.
Colonized different planets.
I mean, I suppose so. Yes. I mean, look how close we are with the lame technology that they show us. Imagine with the real technology, what they're doing and what they have been doing. And especially the people that built all the amazing megalithic sites. Do you think they didn't have the most amazing technology? Of course they did. So it's totally possible. But
it would have been a different political class, because we look at things, we go back to thinking that in the past people were living in caves, and that was that the caveman, the cave woman, they lived in caves and they wore animal furs, and that there probably were people that did that, but that's not all of them. There were also people building megaliths that we don't know how they really did that, especially with the technologies and the tools that they used. So we look at people today. There's people that live out in the woods, and there's people that work in little, laboratories working on these microscopic chips that are so small you can't see them, that can do things beyond people's wildest dreams if they hook them up to these quantum computers or whatever. I mean, it's just as a metaphor, but I find it, wow. Yeah, it's usually, it's not either or, folks. It's most likely most of the above. it's most of the above. So anyway, I rant. Mythos Decoded, YouTube, Odyssey, Mythos Decoded on Wix, and just type in Tess Clark, Mythos Decoded, and all of the links will pull up. Go back and watch some of our interviews. We did some exclusive stuff on Patreon, and I've got previous interviews on our Patreon page that we did. So you definitely want to check us out over on Patreon. But Tess, share some words of wisdom with us before we finish up this awesome podcast. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Enjoy the ride. It's not going to last forever. We're not on this planet forever. We got a short time. Well, lifespans are short. So just be the kindest, have the most fun and productive life that you can. And yes, try to leave a good mark on the planet and be happy.
Right on. I like that. Be the change you want to see.